Hello there and welcome to the garden. So today it's a little bit chilly. After all that nice warm weather, we're kind of like getting chillier again, but it's going to warm up in no time. We're right in that like countdown period. By this time next month, I'll probably be planting out summer things like tomatoes. So we're just a month away. I think my next big kind of project is going to be starting some of the summer flowers. I do want to start from seed inside some zinnias and some cosmos, just to have there's an airplane going by overhead. Just a sec. I just want to have a little insurance policy for some of the seedlings because I've had such issue with squirrels and different pests. I want to try to get past that. So I think one of my projects later today is going to be digging out all the seeds that I want to get started indoors, my final round of indoor seed starting, and I'll share that. But right now it's just kind of like signs of spring. My big project yesterday was moving the container pond out of the unheated greenhouse. I don't really have like a great reason why I decided to do it. I just figured it was warm enough now that I could move it without posing any damage or issues to the fish. So I just kind of emptied out a little bit of the water. I've got a lot of algae growing in there, and so I just thought it'd be good to empty out a little bit of the water, get things freshened up a little bit. I moved it out, so now it's in its final location. I'll show you where it's going to be all summer. So hopefully this will give like the water lilies time to adjust to being outside. I don't know. It was starting to get really warm, I felt like, in the unheated greenhouse, and you can overheat your fish. I have goldfish and ruby red minnows in there, and both of those are pretty cold tolerant. Like they don't mind, they even a little layer of of ice, honestly, on it. It won't really bother them, but you can overheat them in a container like this. And as we continue to get warmer and warmer and warmer, I really just didn't want to risk overheating it. We do probably have a couple frosts coming in the next couple weeks. We'll probably get like a couple nights, but it's only dipping to below freezing like for an hour or two in the morning. So it's nothing that's going to be like freezing this solid or anything like that, which that would be a big problem for the fish. But it's enough that it's staying really warm in the unheated greenhouse, and I just don't want to get into a thing where I'm starting to get the fish too hot as we start getting warmer and warmer. Over here, it's going to be in a little bit of part shade, and hopefully the fish will be happy. So I cleaned it out a little bit. It's looking a little cloudy. I think, whenever you adjust these even fish tanks, it can cause some different algae blooms. Things can get a little cloudy, so I'm not too worried about it. I do think I'm going to place an order for some more hornwort. I actually ordered it on Etsy, and it's just a really good oxygenating seaweed. So the stuff that I had in here last year, it basically died. It didn't really winter over. I've got a couple pieces in there, but I don't think they're really alive. I'm not quite sure. So I think I'm gonna just order some more. You can see it's kind of like, it's just not looking great. So I'm gonna get some more hornwort so that we can make sure we're getting a lot of good oxygen in there for the fish. And of course we've got the little fountain as well. And you can see the lily pads starting to come up. So this is gonna really fill out and be really beautiful. For right now, it's just kind of in a little bit of a state of transition, but it's a big sign of spring that we're able to bring that out. As I said, we have just a couple nights that are gonna be getting frosts, but nothing that's gonna be a big issue for it. And it's so pretty. It's just so nice to have water in your garden. It's one of my favorite things that I added last year were water features. I would love to add a fountain. The more water the better. In this kind of size space, I really struggle not making it too busy. I don't want to have like so many things that it feels really busy and crowded in here. So I haven't added like an official fountain or anything like that. But someday, if I ever have a bigger garden, I will definitely have a fountain, because water, like a true fountain, water makes all the difference. So I am gonna hook up, I have like a little filter. So I'm gonna hook up a little filter to the container pond and let it kind of filter the water a little bit. And I thought I would show you a few things that are just some signs of spring, because the lettuce in the container lettuce is starting to really come up. And the peas, if you remember, I planted all of those peas in the containers with the perennials. They are doing super great. The peas that I actually planted in ground are not doing as well. Part of it, I think some squirrels got into them, and I'll show you, a few of them are coming up, but the ones in containers are doing really, really good. And so that's kind of fun to see, and a good sort of mental note for me. I always try to keep track of what's doing well, especially like what's doing well in containers, because that can be so tricky, and the peas are doing great. So look at how pretty these little peas are. These are, I think they were called the Laxton peas. They are a dwarf shelling pea. So super cute and just growing so happily. And then the container lettuce is starting to come up. Oh my goodness. It's so fun to see, and you can see how thickly I sowed it, because this is all for baby greens. So this will be perfect, even though there's quite a lot of little seedlings in each of these containers. They are they're gonna be just fine as they grow up. I'm not expecting them to get to be full-size lettuce, or this is arugula here, arugula plants. I'm not expecting full-size plants, so I'm not worried about how tightly packed they are together. If you wanted to have bigger heads of lettuce, you could definitely plant them farther apart. And even for baby greens, honestly, if you wanted to, you could plant them farther apart, but it's not entirely necessary. And I like to just put a bunch of them in there, and I think it makes for a really full, beautiful container as well. So that's something that I like. As I'm out here talking about signs of spring, I think it's starting to snow. I think I see a few snowflakes. Oh, this is so funny. I don't think it's even below freezing right now, but there's a few snowflakes in the air. So this is March, isn't it, right? You know, here I am literally talking about signs of spring, and it's snowing. But I did want to show you also the ranunculus that I started from seed. If you remember, typically when you start ranunculus, you use the corms, the little, basically bare roots, little corms. But I found ranunculus from seed, so I decided to just start it from seed and see what happens. And I just wanted to show you how they're looking. I don't think they're as big as they would have been if I'd started from corms. I'm not sure that this is how I would do it next time. They're pretty tiny, and even though I've got them, in the container, a couple of them didn't take, as you could see. They didn't handle the transplant. There's a couple, they just, they're not looking super great. They're not super big. This may be one of those things where either I need to start them like literally last fall, or it might just be worth it to get them from the garden center. There are some things that just getting starts in the garden center gives you such a head start. Like I could go to the garden center right now and get full size, beautiful poppy plants that would be blooming like right now and looking incredible. And I don't know that even if I'd started some from seed, if they'd be at that point yet. So sometimes, that's something I try to consider, like when I want to have these things really blooming in their prime. And right now this is, I don't know what's going to happen with those ranunculus. Hopefully they'll be able to get big and bloom before we get into our summer heat, but I'm not super hopeful. I may not. Well, I'm going to let them go for a while, but if they're not blooming, I may end up replacing them, because it's just not quite what I was hoping for, but that's okay. Of course, my violas, which I just am in love with, are definitely what I was hoping for. I actually ordered a ton more viola seeds for the fall. These are violas I started from seed, and as you can see, did not skip a beat. I started these from seed in the fall, doing just as well as the garden center violas. My violas that I started from seed in the winter are also looking nice and big, and they're about to bloom. I'm gonna bet I'm gonna be seeing blooms in just another week or two, which is really awesome. They look super healthy. And here's a few of the peas. So here's a few of the peas that I started in the ground, and as you can see, they're just not as big and robust, whereas the ones that I have in containers are doing so much better. These are the golden snap peas that I have for here by the trellis. They're growing next to the clematis plants, the clematis vines. Oh, the camera wants to focus on the Morris heading collards in the background there, which are also doing very well right now. I really should harvest some of those because they're looking really good. but the peas in these containers are also looking really nice. And I'm excited to see this. This is a really, sometimes I have trouble fitting all the different things into this garden, but this is a really good kind of exciting thing to see that they do really well in a container like this. And so something I may repeat. I also did plant out a few of the snapdragons. These are the apple blossom snapdragons that I started from seed in January. And so they're starting to kind of fill out and take off. You can kind of tell seedlings usually once you plant them out. Sometimes they take like a minute, like a week, you know, and they just kind of sit there, and then typically they just start taking off. And I'm hoping that those snapdragons will just bloom all through the season and be a really pretty little corner of snapdragons right there in that bed, right by the arched trellis. So for reference, here's the gate and the arched trellis, and there's going to be the peas and the clematis growing up, and then we're going to put tomatoes on there, and hopefully it's going to be really pretty, and then we'll have a really nice stand of the apple blossom snapdragons right there. I'm not sure what I'm going to do for these Morris heading collards. They look beautiful right now, and I need to just start harvesting and eating some more of them. I am going to put a squash there, but I probably won't plant the squash until maybe like end of April, so they've got another month of life before they're going. But those are just some of the signs of spring that we've got out here right now. I just wanted to update you on the container pond, moving out into the main garden, and some of the successes with the peas. Again, the peas in container, like 10 out of 10 recommend. If you still have time, popping a few peas in your perennial containers. I'm just super happy with this. This is like a little garden success. So I'm going to continue to run the filter on the container pond, try to filter it out a little bit, put in an order for some more hornwort, and probably get out of the snow that is apparently coming down today. Did not realize we were going to be getting some snow, but that's all right. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye-bye.